cosmic consciousness, extraterrestrials and UFOs, sacred geometry, ancient civilizations, spiritual connection, the quantum universe. All of these topics and so much more with your host, Sev Tuck, on Alien Spirit with Sev.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Alien Spirit. I'm Sev. You may have seen my guest, Doug Auld, featured in the New York Times for a series of paintings he calls State of Grace, featuring burn survivors, for which he received critical acclaim. Among Doug's other collections of paintings are 100 Whistleblowers, Surreal Celebrity Portraits made from swimming sea life, and Religion in Uniform. Doug has a series of photorealism paintings that will blow your mind. And throughout the show, I'm going to be showing many of Doug's gorgeous paintings. Doug was one of 50 finalists in the 2007 Outwin Boochever Portrait Competition in Washington, D.C. at the Smithsonian. His painting, Shayla, was displayed at the National Portrait Gallery and was the first burn survivor portrait to be featured at the gallery. And Doug is self-taught when it comes to his artistic talents. He is also a musician and playwright, having recently written a stage musical called Hypnota about Nancy Tremaine's true ET contact. You may have seen one of Doug's paintings. It's become quite popular because it depicts a non-human entity, possibly an angelic being, called The Lady in Light, who experiencer Chris Bledsoe claims to have seen. Doug has been featured on TV shows and documentaries. He's been interviewed globally, and he's about to be in a new movie called Interdimensional. Please welcome Doug Auld.
Hi, Sev.
Hi, Doug. Thanks for being here.
That's a wonderful interview, or an introduction, shall I say. Thank you very much.
So Doug and I have been friends for a few years, 5 years, more than 5 years. I don't know. We met through Grant Cameron, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and then we were hosting a multi-hosted radio show, which was fun.
Yeah, for a while.
Yeah. What do we call it? The Grays.
Your memory's better than mine. So
what we called it, the Grays.
Could have been. I know I'm gray by hair, so maybe
I know. Yeah, but I prefer to call it silver or stardust.
Mm-hmm. Silvers.
The Silvers. All right, let's start from the beginning. Where were you born? Where were you raised? And what were you interested in as a youngster?
Well, I was born in Queens, New York, and my parents moved me out to Paramus, New Jersey. My dad and mom, wonderful parents, had a great upbringing. I had an older brother, Greg, two younger sisters, Suzanne and Doretta. Sadly, my older brother, Greg, just passed away. He passed away last October. And that was a part of me that was taken out because Greg and I, from the very get-go of young kids, we were watching everything that had to do with Godzilla, Rodin, science fiction, Twilight Zone, Outer Limits, you name it. If we could find anything that had to do with outer space beings, we were watching it. And we were always attracted to that. So I was born there, got moved out to Paramus, and lived a kind of, like there was a farm behind our house at the time, and I saw the duster plane going up and down and dusting the crops, and that may explain some of my confusion of that dust that I breathed in. But that was our world. It was an innocent seeming time for me, not for everybody, but for me in that environment. And my dad was a car dealer, so I was very attracted to cars. But prior to that, I had gone to Catholic grammar school, And I believe that I was dyslexic. And I believe that they didn't know I was dyslexic because nobody made those kinds of connections back then. So I shunned reading. And I remember myself and one other kid being made fun of by the Catholic nuns at the time, who were like drill sergeants, that you're going to be a loser and you don't know how to read, you can't retain, and blah, blah, blah. And I really do think that that was one of the contributing factors to me switching over to, besides staring out the window, switching over to mechanical things. Everything in my world back then was figured out through mechanics, taking things apart, putting them back together for my mom. Douglas, this is broken. Oh, give it to me, and I'll fix it. Stuff like that. And I grew up like that. And being that my dad was a car dealer, I was interested in auto mechanics, and I ended up going to a trade school rather than a standard high school. Went to Bergen Technical High School and learned carpentry, welding, auto mechanics, auto body, and things like that. The group of kids I went to school with were kind of wayward, and some of them were felons, but I got along okay and fit in. And that was my youth. But I was very jacked into mechanics and mechanical things, and I expressed that to you because that's what, little did I know, I had no art training and no music training or anything. That's what set up the scenario for me figuring out how to make paintings and write music.
All right, I would like everyone to see this painting of yours, which just blows my mind because it looks like a photograph. It's just so hard to believe that that is not a photograph.
Grant Cameron keeps telling me that's not a painting. Grant keeps going, come on, Doug, you're taking photographs.
Unbelievable. And you're self-taught.
Yeah, I mean, I was self-taught and just kind of figured it out.
Look at this one. Look at this one.
So I painted tools because
that's beautiful.
When I worked on tools as a person in mechanics, I saw them as little jewels and little gems. The fact that they were transparent and reflective and refractive was very impressive.
Mm-hmm. And here's one of my favorites, which is a pastel.
Yeah,
that's just gorgeous.
Out of the ones you've showed, I don't even know how I did that because they. I think the emanation of light is the most magical thing that people see when they see paintings, when they see light. And they're like, how did you make that shine? People used to ask me about my TR6 headlight. Well, what did you use? Chrome paint? Like, no. And I'm like, no, it's just all you have is from black to white. That's all you have. And it's kind of an analogy to life. You need to be able to nuance the different tones and colors next to each other in the same way as to create in the right way as to create the right illusion.
All right, there's more art coming, folks, so stay tuned. All right, so we have you as a car mechanic and carpenter and a builder of things and good with mechanical things, and that leads you into piano tuning.
Yeah, that's like a major change. So my dear brother Greg, who was a mentor in my life, whether he knew it or not at the time, he was a few years older than me, and so he was the one that kind of broke ground with my parents. So he was the rebel, and he got in trouble, and I kind of slipped through the middle, after he got in trouble. They were like exhausted with him, so I came along. But what happened is, while I was at the Bergen Technical High School, one afternoon, on a Friday afternoon, he had told me Thursday, I'm coming to pick you up and we're going to go see the band, The Doors. And I'm like, The Doors? Yeah, wow, that sounds cool. And he's like, yeah, we're going to see The Doors. We're driving to Philadelphia. So from Hackensack, New Jersey, we drove to Philadelphia to the Spectrum, and we saw The Doors play. And I would say that event certainly changed the direction of my life, because I came home and I was like, oh my God, like that is the coolest stuff. And like, I got to go out and buy an organ and learn how to play the the organ because maybe we could start a band. And my brother Greg was a very Jim Morrison-esque kind of inspired guy. And I liked that Ray Manzarek, who was on the keyboards in the Doors, that kind of sitting in the background, just kind of, breathing back and forth on the keys. And that's exactly what we did. And we formed a band. Don't ask me how. I don't even know how we did this, but we formed a band called East Agony. I wrote all the music. Greg wrote all the lyrics. I still, there's something to be said for not knowing about what you're going to be doing, because if you know too much, you will never do it. So because I didn't know how difficult it is, I just did it. And so we learned it and we went about it and we started this band, East Agony. We actually played in the world famous CBGB's club in New York City when Blondie and Talking Heads and Tough Tarts and all those bands were coming through. But we were really out there. Of all things, so I moved to piano tuning and piano rebuilding because of my mechanics and the Doors. I jumped to all things music and said, well, if I can fix cars, I can fix pianos. So I had a German piano teacher come to my house. Hermuth Dusadow, his name was. What a fine gentleman. And I said, Helmuth, how do I learn how to tune pianos? I want to tune pianos. He goes, oh, you'd have to go to school in Boston. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm like, I'm not going to school. Can I work for you? And he says, well, I could never pay you. I said, who said anything about paying me? He goes, well, you could come to my shop and strip down pianos. I said, I'll do it. Within 2 weeks, he was paying me. I learned that business so fast. I learned how to tune pianos. And that job liberated me. And that's something I would say to a lot of people today, younger people today, is that if you want to be creative or you want to do something outside the ordinary, you need time. And if you're spending your time 8 to 10 hours a day working, jamming down food when you get home and waking up the next day, you don't really have the time for it. So I found a way to liberate myself from, a standard job. And I was tuning and rebuilding pianos and coming home at 3:00 in the afternoon and earning enough money at the time with prices the way they were so that I could pursue my painting. And that's how I started painting. Now I started painting because my brother Greg started painting. And I went downstairs and looked at I'm like, oh, that's cool. What are you doing? And he's like, oh, and I'm watching his paints and this and that. I said, I think I'm going to try that. So there was like a naivete to the whole thing. And I remember that I started to paint and I made a portrait of the singer Cat Stevens. And I brought it upstairs and I said, what do you think of this to my mom and dad? And they were like, who did that? I said, I did. And they're like, what? Like, how? And so that's how my painting started. But let me go back to my brother Greg. My brother Greg brought me to see the Doors, changed my life regarding music. And then he brought me to see the Salvador Dali Museum in Cleveland, Ohio. And I saw those paintings. So now I've already seen this music. Now I'm seeing these paintings. My poor father, because he wanted me to take over the car business.
Oh gosh.
My God, I'm like this.
Oh gosh.
And I'm like, oh my God, and I'm going to start painting. So I started painting. So those are the two things that got me into becoming an artist. And because I was very facile with my hands, and to this day, I have this, what I don't have in academia, I have in a problem-solving mind. I'm a problem solver. So like, all right, you want to do this? Well, how would you start? And I'm very good at that. I'm very good at taking apart a procedure in order to accomplish something. And that's what I've done with my art and my music.
Yeah, let's look at this one. Everybody look at this one. So this is a cross between the Doors and surrealism.
Yeah, so that's called Self-Destruction. That's Jim Morrison. Of course, everybody knows him as the Lizard King, but I created him out of fish.
Yeah.
One of the things I did keep this one on here, Seth, because one of the things I did about this, this idea of synchronicity of things It's not a collage, because a collage is like, well, stick a jelly
Mhm.
bean into this and to that and a napkin and make an image. These are all plausible realities. That shark, that big great white, could be in the background. These fish could be doing that. These fish could be going this way. That little crab could be doing this. And it's like all plausible realities that I would like to do. I'd like to paint into my scene. And the reason why I called it, the term about impending doom, about self-destruction, is because Jim Morrison, dying at 27, he burned like a firecracker in his short years, and he burned himself out, and he was such an influence on so many people, but he had that self-destructive quality of him, and that's the shark coming up behind the scene.
Mm-hmm.
So
I like how you described this as just like a moment in time, like a freeze of a moment in time when all those fishes could have been in that exact spot.
yes, and
I like that. Here's another one.
only from that point of view. This is what.
Yes.
Let me explain where this started. When I was a kid, I used to stare. It's going to sound like a nutcase, but I used to stare at a light bulb in the summer on the porch, and I used to see bugs flying around the light bulb, hitting it and blah, blah, blah. And I used to picture in my mind, daydreaming, that I was seeing portraits and things and stuff aligning at a split second, and gone, freezing and framing. And if I could freeze frame that light bulb over and over and over again with those little mosquitoes and moths and things, I would sooner or later see something. And that's what I was doing. This picture is a portrait of Andy Warhol, where now I took freshwater fish and I aligned them in such a way, and I titled the image "Famous for 0.15 of a second," although Andy said everyone will be famous for 15 minutes.
That's funny.
So I took, there's always a little element of humor in all my work. And I took that comment and I said, all right, famous for 0.15 of a second, meaning that only that image will last for a split second. And it will only last as Andy Warhol from here, from above, from the side, from behind. It's just fish.
Let's get to the burn survivors.
Okay.
So here, this is a really cool photo of Doug, and surrounded by his incredible burn survivor paintings. And as I had said in the introduction, that he was a finalist in the Boochever Portrait Competition in Washington, D.C. at the Smithsonian. And he became a finalist with this painting of Shayla.
Yeah, she's in the background of the bigger picture. Yeah.
And she was the first portrait of a burn survivor in the National Portrait Gallery.
Now she is 14 years old in that picture.
Oh.
Shayla, I went to, so can I tell you a brief story about, so when I started the Burn Survivor series, and I started it by it got, no pun intended, ignited, the idea, by when I was about 18 or 19 years old. I went to a food mart and I saw this girl and this woman way in the distance. I was buying coffee in the morning, donuts and all that kind of stuff. It was an outdoor food mart. I saw this family walking towards me, this mother and somebody, and I'm assuming it was a mother. But they were walking towards me, and as they got closer and closer, everyone was pointing and backing away, and I didn't actually understand it. I was like, maybe they're celebrities, or maybe someone's a celebrity there. As they got closer to me, I realized that it's all about this young girl, and this young girl had curly blondish brown hair. When she got really close to me, she turned her head and her hair came out from her face, and the young girl, was completely melted. I mean, no ears, no nose, everything drooped and dripped and everything drawn. And I was like, and I just stared at her and I was shocked. And she looked at me and I looked at her and I felt really bad. She turned away, I turned away, and I thought about it for a long time. Fast forward 9/11. 9/11 happens, and I was in Hoboken and saw the buildings fall. I saw the second plane hit. I was at the river's edge. And I was like, I was on my rollerblades, and I rollerbladed home, and I laid on my bed, and I looked up the ceiling fan, and I was like, Doug, what are you doing with your life? Like, what are you, like, do you realize what just happened? We're under attack. We're at war. What are you doing with your life? And when I thought about that moment, the little girl that I just told the story about came back into my memory. And that's what I said, okay, I'm going to paint portraits of burn survivors. Why? It told me to do that. I was called to do it. And the reason is, I'm very into like our exteriors. I'm very into why we react the way we react to babies and cute faces, and what is cute and what is not, and what is acceptable and what isn't. And I've studied all this material. And burn survivors are a fascinating topic to me because it's not a disease. It's just a physicality. So Shayla, that young girl inside that body, is the same person that she was prior to burn, but now she's different. And now the world doesn't want any part of her. Now they shun her, and they called her a monster, the kids at school and everything like that. And all Shayla ever wanted to do, when I interviewed her and her mom, Shayla's mom said she just wanted to be loved and be a star, and like be like so many kids, to be admired and be a star. And of all things, I paint her, and she ends up in the National Portrait Gallery.
Yeah.
Mother brought her to the National Portrait Gallery to see the painting. All the assistants and all the curators and everybody there came out and applauded her. And that was a whole thing. But that's how I started painting burn survivors. I was very fascinated about the fact that we have a very, very hard time dealing with non-symmetry and issues of the face. And that's why I started.
Yes. In fact, a burn survivor changed my life too. I was pre-med at Loyola University. I finished up, and I had an internship at University of Maryland Hospital. And I was put in the department that dealt with burn victims.
Wow.
And I remember one afternoon, this very nice gentleman, African-American, came in, and they tend to keloid, so their scars are a little thicker.
Yeah.
And his whole chest was just like, it looked like elephant skin.
Yeah.
And I said, what happened? He said, well, my buddy was on fire, and I just tried to put him out. And I have no words. It's just, my heart was just breaking. And I just couldn't imagine him going through life looking like that. And you portrayed it so beautifully and elegantly. And also the look in her eyes, the energy in her eyes, you got that. There's a lot coming out of her eyes.
If everyone that has ever seen my Burn Survivor series, and there's about 10 or 12 paintings, have said there's something in all your paintings' eyes that speak to everybody. There's something defiant and proud,
yes,
and yet vulnerable and everything. But the eyes in my paintings speak, and of course they say the eyes are the window of the soul.
That's a beautiful painting. It really is absolutely stunning.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Here's another one I'd really like everyone to see. This is incredible.
So Fernando, very brave here to sit in front of his painting. That will give people the idea of the scale of these paintings. These are large paintings.
Yeah.
And I wanted to paint them larger than life, and I needed to have good technique and make them very real. They couldn't be gestural. It wouldn't have communicated to people. People needed to be confronted. And what I wanted to do is, because all the burn survivor people that I painted, they're all volunteers. They all volunteered through St. Barnabas Burn Center. Kathy Conlon and Roy Bond at St. Barnabas Burn Center in Livingston, New Jersey, were the ones who helped me get this series going. And Fernando volunteered, and he was in a car accident on New Year's Eve and got knocked out and went on fire, and look at the result. But he was brave enough to sit in front of his portrait because they're trying to show people we're not a body. We're beyond a body. And that dovetails into my later investigation through UFOs and then NDEs, mostly NDEs now, that
Yeah.
and all NDE people all
Mhm.
confirm not a body. This is just a carrier. We're a spirit being.
Mhm. All right, let's get to your really famous painting, the one behind you.
Oh,
You call her the Lady of Light.
the Lady of Light.
I think Chris Bledsoe calls her the
The
Lady
lady.
in White, I
I
think.
think he just calls her the lady.
Oh, he just calls her the lady. Well, here it is, folks. You may have seen this. And it's big. Well, let me take this off. Look how big it is behind
Yeah,
Doug on his wall back there.
pretty sizable.
All right, tell us a story.
So I met Chris Bledsoe by reaching out to him. I saw a show called UFOs Over Earth on the History Channel years ago, 7, 8, 9 years ago, maybe now. And I said, oh my God. And I listened to Chris and I heard him tell the whole story. And I said, this is real. It just went off in me that this is real. This is not a fairy tale. And he was on Mel Fabregas's show. And I wrote Mel and I said, Mel, could you pass this email on to your guest, Chris Bledsoe? He did. Chris answered the email. We started speaking. In no time, we were friends. And he invited me to his home. So I went to Chris Bledsoe's home, met his wife, met his son, who was on the sighting with him, and his whole family. And we got along great. And long story short, because I know we're short of time, Chris said, Doug, beyond everything that I've told you, beyond the UFOs and the day, the craziness of the day and everything, he said, the lady is the most impactful thing of my story. He said, and he said, I know you have art skills. If there's any way you could paint the lady, I would love that. I would love. And I said, I mean, for me, Chris, I said, for me to paint someone's imagination or someone's personal vision, it's like painting a dream that I didn't have. It's not easy to do. But I said, you know what? I'll think about it. It took me about 6 months to think about it. And then I got to it and I made this painting and I incorporated everything as best I could in a still image. Chris talked about a bull running through the woods behind his house, knocking him over, turning around, and then in front of him was this lady floating like 2 or 3 feet above him. His burning tree is in the background. I put the UFO up there for this symbolic thing of the UFO experience, and owls as something that he was connected to. And so I made that painting for him, and it's free for him to use. I just let him use it, and I gave him a reproduction, and you can use it any way you want. And I'm not looking for compensation or money, but I own the painting here in my private collection of work, and that's
It's stunning. It's just stunning. And she's gorgeous. Just the way you did her robes and everything. But the bull, the way you made the bull is beautiful. What symbolism do you think the bull has?
I'm not 100% sure. By the way, the bull on the head, if you came in close on the head and you really looked, the Atacama beings from the desert are on. That's what I painted in the center of the head, because there's always like a little something going on where I can find a spot to put some little significant something. But I never understood what the bull was. Maybe masculinity, maybe the human potential, or who we are as human beings. But it broke through, according to Chris, it broke through the woods and knocked him over.
Yeah.
And then it was gone and the lady appeared. I don't know.
Yeah. I think he said it knocked him over and like ran through him.
Ran through him.
I think is what he said.
Yeah. Ran right through him. And he got knocked over. When he turned around, he was on his knees. And he turned around and he saw the lady flowing there. And that's when she told him, you have a great burden. You have to bring this to the world.
Yes. All right. As talented as you are as an artist, you decide to become even more talented. And you become a musician and you write a stage musical called Hypnota. Really amazing. It's like you decide you're going to do something and nothing holds you back. You're like, I'm just going to do it. I mean, to write a stage musical, which is, isn't it really intended for Broadway? I hope it makes it to Broadway. It's about Nancy Tremaine's true ET contact story.
Yeah.
So here is Hypnota, a stage musical, which is really a cool graphic. Can you tell us more about Hypnota? Why you created? How was the process? I remember your process.
Well, first of all, while Nancy Tremaine was writing her books, I was writing Hypnota. Now, Hypnota came to me as a prompt. It came to me in the middle of the night. I woke up 3 o'clock in the morning, sat up in bed, and I just said the word Hypnota. I never knew where it came from. I never knew if I said it, was it given to me, but I just went Hypnota, and I'm like, where did that come from? And I wrote it down because I had to play hockey in the morning, and I would have forgotten I went to play hockey, came back, and I'm like, oh, that's right. And it brought it back to me. So Hypnota, the word came to me, and some prime directive, people would call it download, came to me that you're going to do this job. And I had piano skills. I had music skills. I knew music. I'm not great at reading music. I can read music and take it apart. I can't sight read music. I'm very terrible at that because I can't read either. I'm dyslexic. I lose my place. I look down, I look up, I don't know where I am. And I'm like, oh, this is too much.
Okay, can I stop you right there? You don't read and write music?
I write and understand all the theory of music. I can't sight read music. Sight read is if you put Mary had a little lamb in front of me and I had to watch the music, and like I probably couldn't get through it because I can't translate.
It takes practice. It just takes a lot of practice.
But anyway, long story short, I had classical music from a Juilliard graduate I studied with for a while. I had classical music training, understanding chords, and I used to love Rachmaninoff and Chopin and classical music. Anyway, I had that behind me. So when I went to write the show, I just decided I'm going to write the show, and I cannot explain it to you, Sev, but the first 20 or 30 pages just kind of downloaded to me. It was like it came out of me like a water.
Yeah.
And what I did so that people can be clear about this, I didn't take Nancy Tremaine's story, and Nancy knew this. I based my main two characters on Nancy and her girlfriend Cindy. Her girlfriend Cindy and Nancy had a UFO event in Novi, Detroit, Michigan. But I took the idea of two women, and I said, I'm going to name my characters. I even got the name of one of the characters sitting at a traffic light. And I remember looking at a red light ready to go green, and the word came into my head, Nectar. And I said, okay. And
That's
Nectar,
a cute name.
Yeah, and Nectar is my main character, and Jilly is her friend. And it took off from there. And it took me a lot of time. It took me close to 10 years to write the entire thing, to get singers to sing the demos. It's very, very complicated. The show is done, as I would say, done in a scenario of ready to be looked at and worked on, but I haven't found a producer. The producer that was interested in my show, he kind of backed away from it. He got a little scared. And, you need to make a lot of money in these shows. It's costly.
But the time is now. Now's the time.
But yeah, I was like, oh my God, the time is so now. And I told the would-be producer who has got Broadway friends. He's very good connected. He said, Doug, I don't have a feeling for UFOs or anything like that. You know what I said to him, Seth? I said,
You will.
I said, did you like It's a Wonderful Life with Jimmy Stewart? Right? great movie. It's a Wonderful Life. It's a Christmas movie that everybody watches. He goes, oh, of course I loved it. I said, well, Clarence, the main character, is an angel, right? He goes, yeah. I said, do you believe in angels? And I got him.
That's right. Yeah.
Because it's like, do you really have to believe in it to go with the show? Just go with it, and you'll open up a certain imagination. So I wrote Hypnota. It's about 95 pages. It's got 15 to 18 original songs.
It's good.
All anyone has to do is go to hypnota.com, and you'll find it.
Mm-hmm. Are you pitching it around, or are you just waiting for people to knock on your door?
Little by little, things are starting to leak out, and I'm getting a little bit more involved again in the UFO world after absorbing myself in NDEs.
Yeah.
And now I'm seeing that the NDE, Grant and I talk a lot about this. The NDE world and the UFO world are somehow converging now, and so on.
Isn't that what the movie that you're in is going to be about?
Yes. So Interdimensional. I'm in that. I'm one of the little squares there on the left, and down in the right in the middle on the left. And this woman named El Saramaga, who is putting this film on, she is an NDE experiencer. I saw her on the Jeff Mara show. Jeff Mara is a great channel for NDEs. Mm-hmm. And I'm friends with Jeff, and I saw her on that. And I'm the kind of person that if I want to reach out to somebody, I act on it immediately. And I wrote her right away. She answered me, and we became friends. We spoke over a period of time, and she got to know the breadth of all the different things that I'm involved in, including all my UFO sightings and the paranormal experiences that I've had. And she's creating this new film, and she's got me in it with Peter Panagore. The big circle on the right is Peter, and he has an amazing NDE. And Linda Moulton Howe is up there on the right, and they're all like going to contribute to this film.
Is it finished?
No, it's in the progress of being made, and it's supposedly coming out towards the end of the summer.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
What are you doing in the movie? Talking about what?
Well, they came. Michael, the producer, came and interviewed me, and he interviewed me for 3 hours one day and 2 hours the next time he came out. So he has a lot of material on me, and we went over everything from how did I get here to all the stuff you and I have spoken about. Music, art, this, that, everything else, how I got here, and the value of, like, from a time that I thought I don't have a very good education to a time where now we're sitting in a spot where I have the kind of education a lot of people would benefit from, which is hands-on, being able to fix things, repair things, auto mechanics, whether it's plumbing, electrical, this and that, and everything else. We have a lot of PhDs and brainiacs out there. We need more people with skills.
Yes, that also reminds me of talking to experiencers, because we're the ones with the hands-on experience as well. But a lot of people aren't talking to experiencers. They're talking to military whistleblowers. And I'm like, hello, I know the answer to that question. Hello.
Yeah. No, I know. And did you know about Elle? I don't know if you knew about Elle when she was making this movie.
No.
Elle,
what's Elle's last name?
Suramaga.
No. Why should I know about Elle?
Because she went ahead and chose the people that would be involved in this, and you, as an experiencer among many, could have been involved in it, but like there was, I would imagine.
I wasn't referring to that.
Oh.
No, when I said, hello, I have the answer to that question, meaning there's so many times, and experiencers will say this, we've watched an interview with a military whistleblower and they ask him a question. Experiencers have the answer to that question. Yeah. But for some reason, there's still some hesitancy coming to the people who actually had the experience. But hopefully one day people will be more apt to come towards us once the whole military whistleblower thing kind of blows over, because there's issues with military whistleblowers. Okay, let's talk about your whistleblowers.
Okay, I think that's changing, by the way. I do think that's changing, and I don't think that so-called disclosure, and I know that's a tricky term. I don't think whatever people accept as general disclosure will come from the government ever. I think it will come from experiencers.
Yeah.
It will come from a tipping point of experiencers, or it will be coming from the others themselves, where it's like undeniable. My whistleblowers.
All right,
So,
here, this is a screenshot from your website, DougAuld.com.
right. And in my whistleblowers, what I did was I chose to paint 100 portraits.
100. Of course you pick 100.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to make it substantial.
That's pretty substantial.
100 whistleblowers.
So who do you have here? You have Stanton right there.
Stan Freeman. Smedley Butler is in there, who said war is a complete con, or a war is a
Which
rat.
one is he?
He's top row of the full portraits, all the way on the right in the hat.
Oh, okay, right there. All right.
And you can see Stan Friedman in the middle. That's
Travis.
Yes, Travis Walton. The guy far left on the top right is in a new interview on a great channel. Jonathan Weingart, his name is. He's a very little known experiencer who experienced in the military. He experienced a Peru UFO crash, and it's just a fascinating story. It's very, very lengthy. There's a channel on right now that's got a lot of information on him. Rob Billett is below him. He was DuPont whistleblower. So all my whistleblowers have something to do with either paranormal, UFO, military, like stuff like environmental, medical, things like that. Rob Billett was blowing the whistle on DuPont dumping chemicals into the river, it floating down to another town and polluting and killing all the cows there. There's, Julian Assange is all the way on the bottom. You can see on the bottom left. Then there's Travis. And then there's Paul Hellyer from Canada in the middle.
And why is Kennedy a whistleblower?
Well, because this gets into a very, very interesting story. And what I was telling you earlier, that I was speaking with Douglas Caddy, the attorney for E. Howard Hunt during Watergate. And this is becoming more topical now that Douglas Caddy was told by E. Howard Hunt when he asked why was Kennedy taken out. He said it was because of the others, and he pointed his finger to the sky. And he told him that. And now Richard Dolan is talking about that now. That was on Douglas Caddy's interview was on The Dark Journalist. So this is a very, very interesting topic. There's a lot of reasons why you could say Kennedy was talking out. He wanted to smash the CIA into a million pieces. He had an affair with Marilyn Monroe. There was a lot of like intel stuff that was very dicey. He wanted to make a joint space program with Khrushchev, if I understanding correctly. So meaning, see, we don't like if our leaders, we're going through this now, we don't really like if our leaders like make peace in the world, because that's not good for the deep state. The deep state makes a lot of money on military hardware, whether it's Raytheon or Bechtel or Halliburton or whoever it is, Boeing. We build stuff to protect ourselves, and if there's peace in the world, then that kind of goes out of the picture.
Yeah, there's no money in that, right?
There's no money in peace. There's a lot of money in war.
That's right.
That's sad.
All right. You have this collection of paintings, which are really gorgeous. You call it Religion in Uniform. Yeah. I have a couple here. Can you describe this painting? Because there's symbolism in here. There's symbolism in all your paintings.
It's actually one of my absolute favorite paintings. And I painted that from life. I had a woman in town. She was a waitress. And I bought a nun's outfit. And I said, would I pay you to come and sit in a room? And I'll dress you up as a nun. Because I had this concept. So
that cracks me up.
So, but it's one of my Vermeer. If anybody knows Johannes Vermeer's paintings,
Oh, one of my favorites.
he used all his family, his kids for
Mhm.
sitting for him and stuff. And I love Dutch realism. I love Russian
Mhm.
realism. I was a real fan, both in music and art. I was a real fan of Russian realism in music, Rachmaninoff and Tchaikovsky and Prokofiev, and same with art. So
Mhm.
the painting is. I'm fascinated by our exterior, as I talked about with burn survivors, and I'm fascinated with our uniform. Everyone's an actor. We go out into the world. We're kids, and we learn how to be whatever we are. Our parents teach us, don't do that, do this, do that, do this. This doesn't work, that works. This gives you candy, that doesn't. This makes your teacher happy, that doesn't. So we don't. Bottom line is, we really are all actors on a stage. And we come here and we put on a costume. Even if our costume is no costume, that's a costume. So whether it's priest or fireman or cop, clergy, this, that, anything else, politician, businessman, we have an exterior and it kind of gets us through. So this is what I call Sister Cindy. Cindy, as in Cindy Crawford on the magazine, but Sindy, Cindy as the nun. It's a play on words. And this is a young nun. She's still a woman. I mean, so she's a nun. She's still a woman sitting alone at night, and she's looking through Elle magazine. It's one beautiful young woman in a dark outfit looking through a magazine about another young, beautiful woman in a dark outfit. Cindy Crawford and a model. And so they both wear a uniform and an exterior to show who they are. And then there's even shapes, like the white apron on the nun curves down from her shoulder, comes down up her hand, and then leads its way right into Cindy Crawford's.
Yeah.
There's so many different rhythms of things
Mhm.
that are going on. The gentleness in which she has her hand on her head on her hand behind the book. Like, it's not a heavy weight. It's like you know what I'm trying to say? It's like a
Mhm.
weight of her looking, and she's like almost sneaking, peering into this magazine. It's not like she is, but she isn't. And she's kind of like amazed with the light of a whole world she's not being in. The fruit, you know what the fruit signifies?
No.
Youth. Because time is going by, and soon the fruit will go bad, and we have only a finite amount of time to decide what uniform and what act we're going to. That's what that.
Do you think Cindy is lamenting her decision?
That's up to the viewer. That's a very good question. I think she's curious, and maybe Cindy Crawford is lamenting her decision.
That's a good point. All right, here's another wonderful one.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, there are a lot of symbols in here too.
Yeah, that's my friend. He's Paul Teleke. I haven't seen him in ages, but what a great guy. And I did the same thing. I said, Paul, you want to be a priest? I need a painting. So I put an outfit.
You bought a priest outfit too, so you have a nun outfit and a priest outfit?
Back then I did.
Oh, so, not anymore.
But this was the kind of tough priest. Those are boxing gloves in the back on the wall there behind his shoulder. Okay. So picture like a Jesuit or a tough priest or whatever. Here he is. He's got a cigarette. What's in his hand? He's got matches. And on those matches, it says E equals MC squared. Uh-huh. So he's got like Einstein matches. He's got a cigarette, and he's got a keychain with an alien. That was my own keys. It was my keys with an alien keychain on it. I put there. And it's called this painting is called the Science Times, and it's because, and so it came out in the New York Times, and it's like, what else is out there? And so now we have a priest who's a man of religion reading what else is out there. Do they jive? Do they clash? Science and religion. And I'm always fascinated with that subject of science and religion. Just because you believe in God doesn't mean that you can't live by science, and vice versa. And then, the hat is sitting on top of books of wisdom and learning, and he's got a little shot glass next to him.
Yeah, so he's smoking and drinking.
Smoking and drinking, which is common to the priesthood. So,
right. I wonder if he's lamenting his decision.
Yeah. So again, it's a matter of we choose a life and we wear a costume, and kind of we build. I think it was Confucius or someone said that everything that we do, we build ourselves into a box of everything that we do, and we trap ourselves in a box that defines who we are, and then that becomes our prison as we go along.
Yes, and I like to remind people that you can tweak your box, you can change your definitions, you can recreate a whole new box. You don't have to stay stuck in the box that you created when you were a young person or when you were younger. You've created yourself over and over and over and over and over again, and you still are.
Well,
you're not in a box.
That's the bonus of, I have to tell you this. I had a woman friend, older woman, very, very wise, named Dr. Susan Mendelson, who told me once, she said, Doug, you have no idea how fortunate you are to have been denied an education. Think about that. She was telling me I'm lucky to not have gone to school.
Why do you think she said that?
Because you think outside the box.
Yeah.
You don't have parameters of what you should or shouldn't do, how to do it. And I'm not knocking people who are educated. It's amazing, the brilliant minds out there.
Sure.
But I just didn't really know what I could or couldn't do. So I just did it.
Mm-hmm. I think less people are going to four-year institutions. I think this is what I've read. I think some people are just really questioning the purpose of spending $100,000 or more on an education. For some fields, it's necessary, but is it really necessary for all fields? Well, it's kind of like a brainwash. I mean, I have a 4-year college degree. Have I ever used my biology degree? No. Did it open doors because I have a 4-year degree? Yes, but I never used the biology knowledge. I used my scientific knowledge, but not the biology knowledge. And that's because I decided not to go to med school because I saw The Burn Survivor. And that affected me so much. I decided, I don't know if I'm cut out for med school.
See, I learned something about you today. I never knew that. I never knew it was The Burn Survivor that changed your course.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll never forget them. Mm-hmm.
Well, I look more at my way of knowing as intuitive. I'm a very intuitive person. I have a gut sense or an intuition. All my UFO sightings, which we haven't even talked about, all my UFO pictures and everything that I have seems to be coming from me being outside and kind of knowing I'm going to see something or believing I'm going to see something. And I've got like eight or so daytime UFO pictures.
Yeah, and they're good. They're good pictures.
They're unexplainable, and nobody's been able to explain them since. And
do you have them on your website?
Yeah,
you don't even have any here.
If they go to DougAuld.com /UFO, you'll see them.
Okay. And how else can people get a hold of you? Tell us what you're up to, what you're doing, where you are.
I've got a lot of stuff on the plate, but if you just go to my Gmail, Doug Auld at Gmail, Doug R. Auld at gmail.com. You can write me an email, and I'll have a lot of presence soon once the movie comes out and more things are starting to happen. But I welcome anybody that wants to write me on email. It's fine.
Mm-hmm. Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, Doug. I really enjoyed connecting with you again and showing everybody your amazing artwork. And I hope that, can people hear parts of Hypnota on your website?
Go to hypnota.com, HYPNOTTA.com. And my show is up there, and it will have 4 samples of my music.
Oh, good.
Have my synopsis of my show.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to reach me from there too. So either Doug R. Auld at gmail.com or www.hypnota.com.
Yes, I urge everyone to check those out. All right. Thank you, Doug, for being with us. Thank you, everyone, for watching and listening. I'm very grateful.
Thanks, Hip. Thank you, Sev. Thank you very much.